Good morning. Welcome to BBC. I'm Refin and let's start the news today. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has warned that the declining birth rates expectedly the country risks. Japan estimates to have had fewer than 800,000 births last year. In the 1970s figure that was more than 2 million. Well, we have sources. Nobuko Kobayashi is a divorced single woman living in Tokyo, and she told me why many Japanese women choosing to not having children.
Having a child or not is very personal. So I don't think my reason applies to everyone. But I do think that there's a general reasons. Maybe I can distill into three. So one is a financial reason because tuition and after school costs a lot. So having a child is financially burdensome for people. Second, I would say is a career reason. And that applies a little bit to me as well, because the prime time for women to have children, that's also the prime time to advance your career. So you put off having a children to advance your career. Thirdly, and I think this is the under-investigated area, I think people today have many life priorities. So marriage is one of the priorities, but not as high as before. Having children, not as high as before. And there are many competing priorities for your time. And if you cannot have a live-in nanny, if your husband is not helpful, then you're in a very precarious situation being a mother and working. So that makes many people, I think, hesitate.
Thank you, Nobuko, for joining us here. The Prime Minister said, in thinking of the sustainability and inclusiveness of nations' economy and society, placing child-rearing support is the most important policy. Kishida also added that he wants the government to double its spending on child-rearing programs and that government agency would be set up in April to focus on the issue. Japan has one of the lowest birth rates in the world, with the Ministry of Health predicting it will record fewer than 800,000 births in 2022 for the first time since record begins at 1899. The country also has one of the highest life expectancies in the world. According to the government data in 2020, nearly 1 in 1,500 people in Japan were age 100 or older. These trends have driven a growing demographic crisis. With a rapidly aging society, a shrinking workforce, and not enough young people to fill the gaps in the stagnating economy. Attitude toward marriage and starting families have also shifted in recent years, with more couples putting off both during the pandemic. Some point to the pessimistic young people in Japan toward the future, many frustrated with workforce and economic stagnation. Japan's economy has been stalled since its bubble burst in early 1990. According to the World Bank, the country's GDP growth slowed from 4.9% in 1990 into 0.3% in 2019. According to 2021 data from the country's Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, the average real annual household income declined from 6.59 million yen in 1995 to 5.64 million yen in 2020. The government has launched a various initiatives to address population declines over the past few decades, including the new policies to enhance child care service and improve housing facilities for families with children. Some rural towns have even begun paying couples who live in there to have children. Shifting demographics are a concern across other parts of East Asia too. South Korea recently broke its own record of the world's lowest fertility rate, with data from November 2022 showing a South Korean woman will have an average of 0.79% in her lifetime, far below the 2.1 needed to maintain a stable population. Japan's fertility rate stands at 1.3, while the United States stand at 1.6. Meanwhile, the China's population shrank in 2022 for the first time since the 1960s. That was the news for today. Thank you for keep watching BBC. See you soon!